A lot of people are unaware that Kodak even made DSLRs, but before their widely popular mirrorless X-Trans system came out, and just a little bit after their iconic film era came the S series. Now today we're going to be talking about the S3 Pro. Now just a disclaimer, I'm not sponsored by Fujifilm by any means, and if I were, I wouldn't be trying to upsell you into this 20-plus-year-old discontinued DSLR, but I couldn't recommend it anymore. Now, the S3 Pro, that means there was an S1 through an S5, the S3 being the middle child. There was no S4. But being that it's the S3, it shares a lot of similar features with the S5, but at a cheaper price point, and it has upgrades from the S2, most notably the more ergonomic body styling, which fits nicely in my hands, than the S2. Now the camera came out in 2004 at a price point of $2,500. Today you can find them running from $50 to $250. I'd say $150 for a good copy, which is my first point as to why you should pick this camera up, because it's incredibly affordable. Number two, it is easy to use. Now when we talk about classic cameras on this channel, sometimes they're old, rare, hard to find, or hard to use. This is none of those things. And sometimes when you do get a hold of those old cameras, the batteries don't work and the aftermarket options suck. Well, with the S3 Pro here, it uses AA's, which you can get at a gas station, and they just seem to last forever. Beyond that, the S3 Pro uses the Nikon F-mount system, which means you have a rich selection of Nikon glass to use. So maybe if you use Nikon cameras, this might be a good B camera. Now you're probably thinking, Matt, why would I use a 20-year-old camera as a B camera? Well, let's talk about that unique Super CCD SR sensor within here. Yes, it's a crop sensor with 6 to 12 megapixels, but the S captures regular CCD colors that you might know and love, whereas the R is just a little bit smaller and captures highlights, which means you have a wide dynamic range to work with on this S3 Pro. And after shooting with this throughout the fall season, it's incredibly noticeable. Now when I use these 20-plus-year-old cameras, generally dynamic range just isn't available. But that does give you that old Digicam look. That's not really the case here. Yes, it does have that classic feel and aesthetic that you might be looking for when we're talking about CCD or film cameras at large. But the dynamic range is timeless in this camera, and I would say, aside from its low megapixel count, if you use this and compare it to a lot of modern cameras, the dynamic range is incredible, especially if we're talking about that 2004 year this came out in. And if you're just a fan of using old DSLR cameras, this is probably one of my favorite bodies that I've held in my hands in a while. Much like cameras of yesteryear, there's no touchscreen. In fact, it's only 2 inches, but there's subscreens on subscreens and a button for just about everything your heart needs a button for. And yes, having touchy screens is cool, but for me, I'm in the Northland, and sometimes it's hard to mash a screen through mittens and negative 20-degree weather when I'm not trying to take my gloves off. And dedicated buttons are just nice to have, especially for changing your settings quickly without doing any extra menu hunting. So yeah, it's just a quick video this week. I really love the S3 Pro, and I think you should consider it as your next digital camera. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Matt's Notes, follow my Instagram, and I will see you next time.